Rome. The year is 897. A corpse dressed in full papal robes is seated on a throne and made the primary accused in a public trial. But this isn't the corpse of an ordinary man. It's the 7-month-old decaying body of a pope. Dug up from the grave, his flesh is rotting. The stench fills the candlelit halls. The crowd watches in stunned silence. Some whisper in fear, others look away in horror. This isn't a bad dream. It's real. A dead pope is being put on trial in front of the world. This is the story of the Cadaver Synod. To understand how the Church reached such an unimaginably grim moment, we have to travel back a few years into a time of chaos, betrayal, and power games. The role of a pope in the 9th century wasn't just religious. The Pope was also a reigning monarch of the Papal States, located in modern-day Italy. It was no golden age. It was a brutal time known as the Dark Age of the Papacy. Popes rose and fell with alarming speed. Many were installed or removed by powerful Roman families and emperors who treated the Vatican like a chessboard. One of those popes was the 111th Pontiff, Formosus. Intelligent, ambitious, and polarizing, he quickly rose through church ranks while making powerful enemies along the way. Before he was pope, Formosus was already notorious. As Bishop of Porto, a city in Portugal, he gained both admiration and suspicion for his intellect and diplomacy. But his rise was far from smooth. He was excommunicated in 876 by Pope John VIII for abandoning his post and allegedly scheming to take over the papacy. He fled, was stripped of his title, and spent years in exile. But Formosus was a survivor. Eventually forgiven and reinstated, he returned to favor, and in 891 he was elected pope. His papacy lasted almost 5 years, 5 turbulent years full of shifting allegiances. He tried to navigate between the Eastern Frankish king Arnulf and the powerful Spoleto family, 2 factions battling for influence in Italy. But when Formosus died in 896, Rome didn't mourn, it held its breath. Because some enemies don't stop at death. Enter Pope Stephen VI, Formosus' successor. Well, technically. One pope briefly ruled between them, but he died just 15 days after taking office. Stephen was backed by the Spoleto family, who loathed Formosus. He wasn't interested in subtle revenge or quiet corrections of the past mistakes. No, he wanted drama, humiliation, a message carved into history. So he ordered Formosus' corpse dug up from its grave. It had been buried for nearly 9 months. The corpse was rotting, foul-smelling, but that didn't matter. The remains were dressed in papal robes and placed on a throne inside the Church of St. John Lateran. The Cadaver Synod had begun. What happened next was nothing short of horrifying. The courtroom was packed. The air reeked of death and incense. The scene, a surreal blend of ritual and rot. A young church official, trembling and pale, was assigned to speak for Formosus, answering questions directed at the corpse. The charges? Violating canon law by being Bishop of Porto and Pope at the same time, conspiring against previous popes, and performing sacraments illegally. Stephen VI presided over the trial like a man possessed. He screamed at the dead pope, waved documents in the air, declared his rulings with theatrical anger, and of course, the verdict was no surprise. Formosus was found guilty. His papal garments were torn from his body. The fingers he used to give blessings were chopped off. His corpse was dragged through the streets of Rome and dumped unceremoniously in a graveyard for foreigners. A few days later, it was dug up again, tied to weights and dumped into the cold waters of the Tiber River. It was meant to be the final insult. But fate had other plans. Days after being thrown into the Tiber, Formosus' body washed back ashore. Some said it was divine retribution. Others whispered that his rotting corpse was still performing miracles. The people who had remained largely silent during the synod began to speak. priests called the trial blasphemous. Bishops denounced Stephen VI as mad. Rome had witnessed something so wicked, so unnatural, that even its jaded citizens were repulsed. And justice, it seemed, was not done yet. The backlash came swiftly. Within a few months, Pope Stephen VI was arrested. The same church that once watched silently as he desecrated a corpse now turned on him. He was thrown into prison, where after a few days he was strangled to death in his cell. By the end of the same year, in December 897, Pope Theodore II convened a synod that annulled the earlier trial, rehabilitated Formosus, and ordered that his body, which had been recovered from the Tiber, be reburied in St. Peter's Basilica. The next pope, the following year, excommunicated 7 cardinals involved in the cadaver synod and prohibited any future trial of a corpse. And so, after a year of trials, desecration and disgrace, Formosus' honor was finally restored, and at last he could rest in peace. If this story shook you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable tales from the past. Let us know in the comments what stories you want us to cover next. As always, thanks for watching.